I'd like to welcome everyone to the South Lyon Community Education regular meeting on June 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Mr. Abate, can you please call the roll?
Sure, Mr. Tell.
Here.
Mr. Schwegler.
Here.
I am here, Mr. Dashner.
Here.
Here? Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard you.
Okay.
I think Tony froze up.
It's the spot in his house that hates him.
I can see him.
I know.
I can see him. He's frozen.
You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Know, I don't know how many times I'm going to do these things and still have these issues. My sound just disappeared. I apologize. I think the last person I called was Mr. Dashner. He probably already said he's here. Mr. Kennedy.
Yep. I'm here, Mr. Abate.
I am here as well, Mr. Abate.
And Ms. Danshaw. And Mr. Clark, I believe we said it did not made it yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, that's 6 of us are here. That is a quorum. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of
of America and to the
republic
for which it stands,
One
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up, item 3 is public comments. We have currently 17. For those that would like to speak, we also have an opportunity at the end of the meeting. So first up, we have, okay. First up is McKenna Lundy, and she asked me to read for her. Okay. I wanted to speak out about the cuts that are being proposed toward the South Lyon band groups. If the budget is approved, as it is written now, both band programs will be losing $30,000 worth of essential funds. When I learned these cuts would include our band techs and even some of our staff, I was absolutely appalled, especially when I compared our cuts to the cuts in the football budget. Not only does the football team receive absolutely 0 cuts in their budget, they're actually gaining more funding than last year. Now I'm going to talk again about the techs and staff within the band program. Without them, there is no band program. They are our teachers and our coaches and our band administrators. How are we as a program expected to continue without them? How are we expected to compete and to succeed without our foundation? This program means a lot to so many people, myself included, because we aren't just an extracurricular, we're a family. We work hard and we aren't going to stand idly by as you slash our budget to pieces because you don't think that band is worth saving. It is worth saving and it's worth fighting for. And if our passion towards marching band doesn't convince you, our success as a program will. We have gone to states 4 years in a row, which by the way is every year that we have even been a competitive marching band. And we have placed top 10 in the state several times. Not only that, but we were invited to represent our state in the National Memorial Day Parade in Washington, D.C., an opportunity that was unfortunately taken away from us by the recent coronavirus outbreak. So I ask you to please reconsider the budget proposal and think about what you are doing to the band program and the people within it if you pass it. Lauren says that she likes band. Next is Alex Barron. He stated that he wanted to speak. If you would like to speak, you need to press *6 to unmute your phone. I'm going to check real quick to see if possibly he is on the line. Okay, I don't see anyone. I don't see him on the line currently. So he basically stated cuts to the choir music program. It needs to stay and continue. Next is Robin Swank, and she states, I have recently heard there will be huge cuts to the band program at both high schools. Will there also be similar cuts to athletics? The band program has been a wonderful experience for both my kids. They are involved in many of the extracurricular band programs available and have enjoyed all of it. They have made so many friends in all different grades. The leadership team has helped them grow in so many ways. It would be a shame to see the programs be cut. Please consider making smaller cuts to many different programs so that all students can continue with the activities they enjoy. Next is Danielle Bass. She states, I can't express how important the choir programs have been for both my daughters. Choir has literally changed my oldest daughter's life. She was shy, withdrawn, and afraid to make friends when she started at Millennium Middle School. Choir changed that for her. She found her people, her friends, girls like her, and she has grown into an amazing singer, friend, and young lady. Please consider the effects cutting these types of programs will have on students, especially one like my daughter. Irene Streeter states, Southline High School bands, kids need music and art, do not cut funding. Alexis Harrison says, the band program does not deserve to take an entire cut after all the fundraising they need to do just to manage already. Band is expensive. There are so many costs to cover, to name a few: instrument replacements, rental instruments, bus fares to and from competitions, food to feed the band, etc. The Southline band program is really special and the students are able to bond like their family. Don't take the joys of being in band away by bringing in the stresses of needing to fundraise in order just to keep the band running. Avery Oakley says, I tried calling and it says it's unavailable. This is, I think, from the last board meeting. So I'm going to try here to see if it reaches you. I am a soon-to-be graduate at Southline East, and I have been in choir all 4 years of high school. I was a part of the cheer team as well, but I can honestly say there was nothing that even came close to choir. It shaped my entire high school experience, and I think cutting it would be horrible for the future of students to come. Leslie Taylor, are you on the line? She stated that she wanted to speak, but she also wrote this on June 2nd. Let me check real quick. Okay, I do not see her, so I will just say she talked about the position and music program budget cuts for East. Next up was Aiden Parks. They stated, I wanted to speak about the cuts that would be made to the band programs at each of the high schools. Simply put, marching band is hugely a team-based activity, and no one of us can succeed without all the others behind us. Without the hard work from our staff to guide us, each of these marching band programs would simply be unable to function. Smaller cuts to all programs would allow all groups to continue to function, if not with all the bells and whistles they are accustomed to, and not have such a drastic influence on our program as a whole. Robin Wyman, are you on the line? She also wanted to talk about the Southline East Band program budgeting. Okay. Cynthia Ayers states, I do not want to see cuts to the band and choir programs. So many students are involved in these activities. It is critical for the students' education to have music programs. These are not just elective classes, but vital to a well-rounded education. Thank you. Victoria Taylor said that she wanted to speak, but I do not see her on the line. If she wants to speak at the end, that's fine, but she also wanted to speak on behalf of Southline East Choir and stated cuts to the music department, including Laura Hogan. Andrew Liskey just wanted to support the band. So now we are up to Ashley Glenn. I think Ashley Glenn wanted to speak about curricular changes.
I think
Oh,
I'm
good.
unmuted.
Yep, you're
Sorry.
good. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for your time tonight. I graduated from Southline High School, class of 2010. Earlier today, I emailed the board regarding a letter, with a letter regarding Southline Community Schools and systemic racism. This letter was signed by former and current Southline Community School students, educators, and community members, encouraging the board to commit to the requests outlined in the letter. I'm speaking tonight only on my own behalf and will not claim to speak for any of the other signers of the letter. I'd like to first make explicitly clear to the board and anyone listening, when I talk about systemic racism and white supremacy within the school district, I'm not claiming that SLCS is composed of individual racists or white supremacists. I'm not making those claims about any of the board members or administration. I am trying to bring attention to the fact that in our country, while Brown v. Board of Education desegregated schools in 1954, there are school districts all over the country that are still segregated by any objective standard. The racial composition of South Lyon is not the fault of the SLCS administration. However, the district must work to teach students about the privileges they are afforded by attending SLCS and the ways in which their education predominantly centers the white experience. I won't take the time to read the entirety of the letter, but I do want to acknowledge the 3 outcomes that the letter insists upon. First, craft a comprehensive elementary, middle, and high school curricular plan that includes the perspectives of Black, Indigenous, and people of color and their history while specifically addressing systemic racism and white privilege. Second, require diversity, equity, and inclusion training for all staff. And third, encourage its peer schools in Metro Detroit area to do the same. Money must not be the reason that this topic is not addressed immediately. This does not need to be a fresh start from scratch, but rather a rethinking of the ways in which educators can present history or language arts or sciences in order to decenter whiteness. One suggestion from the community includes more transparency in what books are selected for study in English and language arts classes and how the history of discoveries are told in science classes. One community member suggested a community read. An alum has also offered his services and those of his colleagues as postdoctoral researchers studying trauma-informed classrooms or topics around race, culture, and sexual orientation. There are countless online seminars where experts are willing to share their knowledge on racial injustices for free. This is all to say that there are opportunities to take advantage of free and low-cost information that have the potential to greatly improve outcomes for all students within SLCS. I had the opportunity to talk with Mr. Archibald about this briefly on Saturday and was pleased with his openness to the conversation. But South Lyon must affirm that all lives will not matter until Black lives matter. It is far too late for this conversation only to be starting now just because I've sent a letter. The board must commit to make up for lost time and to make changes as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Next up is Tammy Wyman, and she states, I appreciate that revisions were made to the budget proposal that make more equitable cuts to the extracurricular programs. That being said, I want to make clear that I do not agree with cutting this position of music department coordinator. There is no secondary position that would cover the work required in this position. It is unreasonable to expect the band directors to take over the administrative tasks required to run a band program, as well as teaching our students to be musicians. Most of the work that is done by the music department coordinator requires student confidentiality and cannot be redirected to the band boosters for execution. There is no redundancy of responsibility surrounding this position. The music department coordinator positions need further considerations before cuts are made. And our last public comment for this, at this time, is Allison DeHorn. And she stated, I wanted to thank the board members and the finance committee for revisiting the budget that was proposed at the June 1st meeting. Many people spoke in support of our marching band programs at both high schools, and we appreciate the fact that you took this into account when amending the budget. I think I speak for many of us when I say that we appreciate the fact that cuts were made more equitably across the board. Now we all just need to continue to contact our legislators, all of them, and as often as possible, to advocate for our schools. Thank you. Thank you very much, Allison. I agree. All right, with that, we will move on to our next item, which is item number 4, approval of agenda. We have a motion.
I will move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Mr. Abate, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any questions, comments, additions? Okay, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, Mrs. Henshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Schweigler
Yes.
and Mr. Tell.
Yes.
Great, motion passes 6-0. Item number 5, approval of minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes for June 1st, 2020, the special meeting and the regular meeting.
I will second.
Is that you, Mr. Abate?
It was.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Abate. Any questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, I vote yes. Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. Henshaw,
Yes,
Mr. Tell,
Yes.
and Mr. Schweigler.
Yes.
motion passes 6-0. Item number 6, approval of bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 2020 prepaids, the May 2020 wires and ACH transactions, and the May 2020 revenue report.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Mr. Schwegler. Any questions or comments?
Just said it was a busy month doing refunds.
That's actually what I was going to state. Those were all refunds, Ms. Witt, that we knew we were getting. I mean, we budgeted to return all that money, I'm hoping.
No, but the expenses didn't all go out either, and that's why we're refunding the money.
Okay.
A lot of them are refunds for preschool, not to say those expenses didn't go out, but preschool is doing fine. General fund's not gonna have to cover those. But they're all refunds that parents paid for that didn't happen because of COVID-19, basically.
Okay. Yeah, it was remarkable. The entire prepaids, I think, were refunds to individuals. So, all right, Mr. Bate, please call the roll.
Sure, Ms. Zertel,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
and Ms. Nanshaw.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Item number 7, middle school code of conduct updates.
Yes, the middle school codes of conduct were presented at the June 1st meeting and no changes were requested. And we are recommending that you approve the updated middle school codes of conduct as presented.
Thank you.
I will move then to approve the middle school code of conduct updates.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Dashner. Any questions, comments? Okay. I feel like Mr. Abate is frozen again. Mr. Abate?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, you're good. Okay. You were just frozen on my screen. Please call the roll.
All right, Ms. Zertel,
Yes.
Ms. Nanshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
I vote yes, and Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 8, South Lane High School Code of Conduct updates.
Yes, the code of conduct for South Lyon East High School was presented at the June 1st meeting, and there was a discussion about whether it was necessary to add language related to students having food delivered to the high schools. Further discussion with the high school administration determined this was not necessary, and no other changes were requested. Therefore, we're recommending that you approve the updated South Lyon East High School Code of Conduct as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the South Lyon East High School code of conduct updates.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Ms. Ertel. Any questions or comments regarding South Lyon East Code of Conduct? Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Just doing this from home business is just not working for me tonight. Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mrs. Zertel,
Yes.
Ms. Nanshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
I vote yes, and I need to silence my animal.
Correct. Motion passes 6-0. Next up is item number 9, South Lyon High School Code of Conduct updates.
Yes, the code of conduct for South Lyon High School was also presented at the June 1st meeting and no changes were requested. And we are recommending that you approve the updated South Lyon High School Code of Conduct as presented.
Thank you. We
I
have a
will
motion.
also move to approve the South Lyon High School code of conduct updates.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Ms. Ertel. Any questions or comments on the South Lyon High School Code of Conduct updates? Okay. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Glad you're enjoying this, Ms. Nanshaw. I vote yes, Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, and we're all enjoying that, Mr. Abate.
All right. Ms. Nanshaw,
Yes.
Ms. Zertel,
Yes.
and Mr. Schwegler.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Okay, I've been told that that I'm actually the one that's choppy potentially. Okay, I will work on that, but item number 10 is the accounting textbook purchase.
Yes, an updated textbook for the accounting course was presented at the June 1st meeting and no changes were requested. We do anticipate an upcoming July donation from Plant Moran to cover the cost of the initial purchase. We are recommending that you approve the textbook purchased from Cengage for use in the accounting course beginning in the 2021 school year for a total cost of $13,486.20.
Can we get a motion?
I move to approve the accounting textbook purchase.
I'll second.
Moved by Ms. Tell, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any questions or comments on the textbook purchase?
Thank you very much to Plant
Okay,
Moran.
Mr. Abate? Oh, yes. Yes, I forgot about that. Thank you. Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Tell.
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Hanshaw
Yes,
and Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
motion passes 6-0. Next up is item 11, the district improvement plan.
Yes, we are presenting you with a state-required district improvement plan in summary. Like in previous years, there are goals related to reading, writing, mathematics, science, career readiness, and social emotional well-being. While the Michigan Department of Education has suspended requirements to update the school and district improvement plans for next year, we are making some minor adjustments to our plan so that it addresses some specific needs we are anticipating for fall. And those include updating the dates and of our strategies and activities to run through the end of the 21 school year. More explicitly addressing technologies and the strategies and activities to support our goals, and adding language to more explicitly address possible trauma-related needs in our school culture goal. Making these adjustments now better aligns our district improvement plan with our areas of focus for next year. This also enables us to potentially apply for some state or federal grants that may become available, because they do look back to the district improvement plan to make sure that those items are listed out as we apply for those. This should help us as we are preparing for additional grants that may come out. And then I do want to note that the superintendent of the organization is listed as Melissa Baker. We have to work through Cognia, which is formerly Advanced Ed, to get that changed. We have a request in, but it has not been granted yet. So Steve, we are planning to roll that over to you, but we are waiting for them to do that. That isn't something that we can do on our end of that system. I also want to note that I do try to reduce any waste that you may have as you copy things. So the PDF only includes the first half of that plan. The second half of the plan is always a reconfiguration of all of the strategies and activities based on the funding source. So this allows you to see the work that is being done. If you want to see that second half, let me know. But typically when we would print those for the board packets, we just include the first half of that. Historically, we bring the plans to you for information first, and then again for approval, but we did delay that this year as we were waiting for information regarding school funding for next year. Ultimately, though, we decided that for the sake of having it approved over the summer so that we're able to access grant funds as soon as they are made available, it was necessary to make the changes now and to submit to you before the end of June. I do want to thank Kelly Ingblom, one of our district's curriculum coordinators, for her work on updating the plan. The plan was shared with the Curriculum and Communications Committee and is being brought to you for approval tonight.
Thank you. Can we get a motion for to approve the district improvement plan?
Sure. I will move to approve the district improvement plan.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Schwegler. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Very, very good, thorough job as usual. All right, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, I vote yes. Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Tell,
Yes.
Ms. Hanshaw,
Yes,
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
and Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
motion passes 6-0. Item number 12, the 2020-2021 board meeting schedule.
Yes, we presented the 2021 board meeting schedule to you for your consideration. At the previous meeting, there were no changes requested. So it is a recommendation of administration that you approve the 2020-21 board meeting schedule as presented.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 board meeting schedule.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Ms. Ertel. Any questions or comments? I just wanted to let everyone know, Mr. Archibald and I discussed possibly adding a second regular board meeting in August, given everything that's going on. There's a high likelihood we'll have another one, but we didn't want to put one on the agenda if we didn't know that we needed it. So be prepared that we may need a special meeting in August if we require one. So.
Is there a possible date on that yet, Carrie?
I mean, it would be one of the Monday nights, probably well, no, there's no date at this point because we skipped the first one in August. So it will just be as needed. I do know that we want to try to schedule some additional meetings, some board meetings, board superintendent meetings. So we definitely need to get those on the calendar fairly quickly. I'm waiting for Mr. Silveri to give me some dates for those. So.
Okay, good enough. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, Ms. Henshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
and Mrs. Ertel.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 13, the International Academy Consortium Agreement Resolution.
Yes, thank you very much. South Lyon belongs to the International Academy Consortium within Oakland County. We have students from both South Lyon High School and South Lyon East High School that attend the International Academy West, which is at Lakeland High School. These next two items, the resolution for the consortium agreement and a resolution for the new governing body, deal with providing more local influence from South Lyon into the consortium activities and the opportunity for a South Lyon administrator or board member in the future to sit on a governing board resolution. So it is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Education approve the resolution regarding the International Academy Agreement as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agreement resolution?
I'll move to approve the agreement resolution.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. Abate, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any questions or comments? Does everyone remember the history of the current situation that we're in? Any questions? Okay. All right, so this seems like the new arrangement. So hopefully this works better for everyone, and moving forward, we can continue offering this program because I know our students appreciate it. Okay. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Ertel,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler.
Yes.
I vote yes, Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
and Ms. Henshaw.
Yes, motion passes 6-0. Item number 14 is the International Academy New Governing Body Resolution.
And again, this goes along with the previous resolution, but it does provide for a new oversight governing body within the International Academy structure. The recommendation is that Dr. Bob Shaner from Rochester Community Schools and Mark Zatzik, the superintendent of the Birmingham Public Schools, serve the initial terms as the at-large members of the governing body, and then South Lyon would have an opportunity in the future to have a person on the governing body also. So it is our recommendation that the Board of Education approve the resolution regarding the International Academy, which supports Dr. Robert Shaner from Rochester Community Schools and Mark Zatzik from Birmingham Public Schools to serve the two at-large members of the IA governing body.
Thank you.
I'll move to support the International Academy New Governing Body Resolution.
I'll support that.
Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Mr. Abate. Any questions or comments?
I guess one comment I'll make is just in case anybody watches this, it's not familiar. International Academy, there was some claims that there was a unclear controlling entity of the International Academy. And this, as I understand, corrects that by putting a board in place that will be in charge of the decisions that happen there. So it basically clarifies something that was kind of a hole in their bylaws when they were created.
That is true.
Just a quick question. So what happens if Dr. Shaner or Mr. Zatzik, if they leave those districts, are those seats held by Rochester Community Schools and Birmingham Public Schools, or are they held by those gentlemen specifically?
My understanding is that those seats are held by the individuals. They
Okay.
could send someone from the system in their place if they were still an active member. But if for
Okay.
some reason somebody becomes the next superintendent for the state of Michigan, that would be an open seat, and the governing body would determine how to fill that.
Okay.
I did see, Carrie, that those two gentlemen have a 2-year term to start with, and then there'd be an election to replace them. So it's possible that they might just hold elections for a replacement at that point.
Sooner or later. Okay. All right. If we don't have any other questions or comments, Mr. Bate, please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy,
I vote yes.
Mr. Tell,
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Hanshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
and Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 15 is the 2020-2021 recommended budget. Ms. Witt?
Yes, the 2020-2021 recommended budget was included in your board packets. This budget was presented at the June 1st board meeting, and changes were requested by the Finance Committee to the working draft reduction list. The recommended budget results are, the changes were accounted for in this budget that were requested by the Finance Committee. The recommended budget results in a shortfall of expenditures over revenues in the amount of $2,596,648 and has a projected June 30th, 2021 ending fund balance of $5,639,372, or 6.3% of total expenditures. It is administration's recommendation that the board approve the 2020-2021 recommended budget as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to pass or support the 2020-2021 recommended budget as presented.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Mr. Schwegler. Any questions or comments?
I guess a comment I'll make is that none of this is easy. It's cuts, from the standpoint of the Finance Committee, we're kind of shooting in the dark with this 500 per pupil cut. We don't know if that's going to happen. Could be a lot more, or maybe we get lucky and the feds step in with money for the school districts. And if that happens, then we don't have to make cuts. We'll just have to see where it is. This is just the best we can do right now. And for anybody that's impacted by it, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who are sorry. If we could do it any other way, we would.
I'd just like to add, before we vote, I just want a note of thanks to Ms. Witt, to the Finance Department, to the Finance Committee, to the folks involved in making those decisions there at the ground level in those committee groups. We heard a lot about the bans, and we appreciate that the spirit that people brought to that issue. As you noticed in looking over the budget the first time around when we went over things, we were a long way from complete. This is a much different list, a much more comprehensive list than we saw the first time around. It's more balanced in terms of everything that needs to be cut across the board. And unfortunately, as much as you'd like to save one piece over another, this is the kind of situation where everybody is going to feel this because it is such a deep cut and nobody wants to do it. We just don't have a choice. So I appreciate the work that went into it and the difficult decisions that were made to get to this point.
I think another comment that I'd like to make is that, we may be approving this budget now that I don't think any of us are real happy to have to do. But if everybody could also keep in mind that if things change, if we find that we get more money, or other things may change, we can always amend, which we do currently. We amend the budget multiple times throughout the year based on the financial knowledge that we get in the fall. that we don't have now. We are required by law to approve a budget by the end of this month, but we don't know what our state monies are until the fall. So it's kind of goes backwards. We have to approve money that we don't know what we have. And then this year is just that much worse with the situation that's been going on worldwide. So not that it makes it any easier for people who may be affected immediately, but if things change, we do have the ability to make amendments. And I think everybody's hope is that we can amend in the positive. And again, like the person who made the public comment, I apologize, I forget the name. Reach out to all of your representatives. Let them know that the schools need help.
The only thing that I have to add would be, yes, the cuts aren't easy, especially people. I think last meeting we kind of threw Stacy and the finance committee under the bus because you presented a budget and we didn't like it. Unfortunately, this one too, I don't think anybody likes, but it's out of our control. We have to pass a budget and we have to move forward. And if Stacy and the budget committee says this, or the finance committee rather, say this is the best we have, this is the only way we can do it right now, I'm okay with that. I appreciate Stacy and the rest of the committees going back to work and ironing it out a little bit more. I do appreciate that.
Thank you. And I kind of want to piggyback on what Mr. Kennedy just said. The reason we had to bring the budget to our last meeting, even though we all knew it was not complete, we only had a couple of weeks to get to that point. The way we approve things for the school board is 1 week we bring it for information, the next week we pass the budget. This is our last regular board meeting in June, so that we had to present something last week, and then we have to approve something this week. The only other option would have been for us to have a special meeting to approve the budget, and everyone agreed that's not a good way to approve budgets. Again, I agree. Thank you to all of the finance committee and Ms. Witt and your whole department. I know not an easy decision. And I also would like to copy with what Ms. Ertel said and reiterate what Ms. Horn from public comment said. Call your legislators. They're the only ones that can help us at this point. This budget is only a $500 per pupil decrease. There are talks upwards of $2,000 per pupil. If it does get there, these cuts will be nothing compared to what we'll be looking at. So please talk to your legislators. So,
President Hanshaw, if I
yes.
may,
Yep.
and just to respond to something that was in a previous board member's comment, is that what we're approving tonight is the budget, which is the total level of expected revenue, the total level of expenses, and along with that, how much of our fund balance we're willing to spend. We're not approving cuts tonight in the sense of the list of proposed cuts that are in there. Those are just a attachment that we wanted included to understand how we planned to get to that level. Now, us passing this budget tonight doesn't implement those cuts starting tonight. Those cuts will happen when it's appropriate, as deemed appropriate, and that'll be part of administration going forward with that.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Tao,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanshaw,
Yes.
and Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 16, the 2019-2020 budget amendment number 2.
Yes. The 2019-20 budget amendment number 2 was presented at the June 1st board meeting. No changes were requested. Budget amendment number 2 results in a surplus of revenues over expenditures in the amount of $1,380,192 and a projected June 30th, 2020 ending fund balance of $9,058,859, or 10.1% of total expenditures. It is administration's recommendation to approve the 1920 budget amendment number 2 as presented.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve the 2019-2020 budget amendment number 2.
Support?
Do we have support?
I don't know if that went through clearly. I will support.
Thank you, Mr. Schwegler. Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Mr. Schwegler. Any questions or comments?
It was just good to see another $1.4 million added to the fund balance before we have to probably go spend it all next year, but.
Well, I had a question. At one point, there was talk of cuts to the current school year. Could that still happen, or are we through that?
Yes, that could still happen.
Okay. All right.
The
well,
finance committee decided that we were going to move forward with this year budgeting with our current per pupil, knowing that we could get hit in August with a huge cut in the 1920 year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. No more questions or comments. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Mr. Tell,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Ms. Hanshaw.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 17, the 2020-2021 food service meal prices.
Yes, the 2020-2021 food service meal prices were calculated using our annual pricing tool. The 2021 meal prices include a 25-cent increase for adult breakfasts and adult lunch sales, and a 5-cent increase for middle and high school lunches from the 1920 meal prices. It is administration's recommendation that the board approve the 2020-2021 food service meal prices as presented.
I move to approve the food service meal prices as presented.
I'll support.
Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any questions or comments?
One quick one I have. In the upper right-hand column, the adult lunch price, the proposed 2020-21 number says 0.25, so 25 cents. I think that number should be 4.50 with a 25-cent change. Maybe just a typo in that farthest right adult lunch column, perhaps.
The 4.25 is the current 1920 adult meal lunch.
Right.
What's the proposed?
It says 25
On
cents.
our sheet, it says 25 cents.
25 cents, so it'd be $4.50.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we did. That's a typo. The four should be in front, or it should say $4.50 in that second row.
Right.
Sorry.
Just to make sure if this goes out there, somebody else besides me is gonna for sure see that and wonder
Yeah,
what.
they're all going to be
what
buying,
happened.
all the adults are going to be buying lunch for a quarter.
President Hanshaw, I would offer to amend my motion to include the change on it to say 4.50 for the adult lunch.
Okay, so is that, how do we do the official amended so do we decline this motion and do a whole new motion?
I think we can just amend it,
Okay,
as long as I'm willing as the original mover.
okay.
And
And Mr. Kennedy?
I'll still support the amended motion.
Okay.
And I probably just flunked board English class.
Well, this meeting has kind of been going that way all night, so we'll give you the pass. All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the amended food service meal prices for 2020-2021? Okay. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Ms. Hanshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
and Mr. Tell.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Item number 18, acceptance of gift.
All right, thank you. Southland Community Schools has received a check for $1,000 from Hewitt's Music to help cover the expenses of the South Lyon Lunch Program, and I would recommend that you accept the gift per policy 9350.
So moved.
I will support that.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Abate. Questions or comments?
Thank you to Hewitt's Music. They're a class act.
Yes, they are. All right, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, I vote yes, Mr. Tell.
Yes.
Ms. Anshaw.
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
And Mr. Dasher.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 19, administration. Mr. Kirby, you're going to be
All
out
right.
for the long one.
Well, possibly. So board policy updates. So the board policies have some minor revisions, and these are the ones that are going to go into effect July 1. As you recall, we did adopt a new set of policies with the support from Les Galbertson. But the following policies are recommended for change as indicated in the enclosure that was provided in advance. These policies will be brought for adoption at the next board meeting after the review tonight. So I just wanted to ask what would be the best way to proceed through this. I tried to be clear as far as what the policy was, what the different changes were. I'm happy to go through and speak to each one of those or take questions. What would be the best way to proceed?
Do we just want to do does anyone have any questions? Does everyone have an opportunity to review all of these?
I have a couple small ones, but they shouldn't take terribly long.
Okay, yeah, let's just ask questions then.
Okay.
On page 40, minor typo in the ARM, for all prospective driver, should be drivers, plural.
We picked a policy that wasn't even on our list, Mr. Kennedy.
It was in red.
Sorry, Mr. Kirby.
But no, it's interesting. It's actually the administrative regulations and those. I'm glad that you did review
sorry,
those.
yes.
And no, that's okay. And we'll talk with Les Galbertson about that. They'll make that amendment. Could you just repeat that for me again? I wasn't ready.
It's on page 40.
Okay.
For all prospective driver.
Okay.
This is the having their background check, I believe.
Okay.
For the bus drivers.
Okay.
And one other question, and I don't have to have an answer right now. All of our volunteers go through iChat. They're all screened.
Yes. In this particular policy revision, you see that there is a volunteer policy. There were two choices. We did, as the policy committee, look at the policy that requires annual background checks through iChat. And that's what we currently do now. And that's what we want to continue to do as well.
Okay. I remember you mentioning earlier in some meetings that you approved and cleared, in some cases, hundreds of volunteers at a time or in a short period of time. Is yearly extremely burdensome to do? We have a lot of volunteers.
So the answer to your question is yes, it's a lot of work. If we have one that we don't check and acts inappropriately, and we allow somebody to work with our children that has something in the background, I would not want to recommend something like that. It is a lot of work, but it's well worth it. And what we use is the employability standard for our volunteers. So basically, if they have a enumerated misdemeanor or a felony, we don't allow them to watch children on their own.
Okay.
So,
good enough. Thanks.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions on any of the policies or the administrative regulation updates?
I would just bring that there was the policy, just make sure everybody saw it, the policy with the remote participation of board for board members. That's something that was new. And then for the most part, most of them were pretty straightforward and required, but I did want to make sure that one was on your radar. because that, could be a change of business. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next up is legislation.
Thank you very much. I do have just a couple things I want to keep on your radar screen as you move into the summer regarding legislation. And they deal with the budget and the relationship between the federal budget and the state budget. There are two ways for you to watch this. One is that the state of Michigan has already received a pool of money from the federal government to help us get through the crisis and to get through in a manner to respond to the COVID crisis that has some really strict limitations on it. So it can't be used for public education to supplement your budget at South Lyon schools. We believe the Fed should kind of loosen up on those restrictions, and the state has asked that. So there's still a pool of money available at the state level that could support local public education units and local municipalities. But the guidelines from the federal government right now don't allow that to happen. So you want to keep your eyes on that, and you want to push for more flexibility around that. The second wave is if there's going to be another round of stimulus from the federal government, we want local public school districts and local communities as recipients of that, either through the state government or directly to local education districts. So those are really the two big legislative things. And you're going to find differing opinions in Lansing on how hard they want to push the feds for stimulus money. There's a loud voice to have money flow from the federal government into South Lyon and other local districts. But there's also a minority voice right now that says, let's kind of ride this out. We think there's been enough federal stimulus, and let's see what happens. I'm of the opinion that we need some federal dollars flowing into public schools for another year, at least, to help with that. And that would conclude my legislative update right now. Thank you. Carrie might be frozen.
All right, thank you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'm frozen.
I can still hear you though.
Okay. Can you hear me? But you can't
Yep.
see me?
Yep.
You can see you.
Okay. All right, perfect. Next up is CETA comments. I don't think,
I do not have CETA comments tonight, Carrie.
okay. Judy, just as a note, can we remove CETA comments as a regular item on our agenda? Anyway, we'll remove that.
Yes,
Okay,
I'll do
next
that.
up is board, thank you, Judy. Next up is board committee reports. Legislative is Mr. Clark, and he's not here tonight. Next up was policy, and you saw everything that we discussed on policy were all of the revisions to the policies and the administrative regulations that we just talked about. Finance, anything additional to what we talked about tonight?
I think we covered it in the budget we passed. Yeah.
Okay. Facilities planning, have you guys met?
No, we have not had a meeting.
Okay, and curriculum and communications.
I don't think we've met since our last meeting either.
Okay. Mr. Heitch, anything under other?
No, I do not have any other stuff tonight.
Okay, thank you. Item 20 is reports. The South Lyon Educational Foundation. Mr. Bate, what are they up to? Do you want to talk about the
Yeah.
scholarships?
Well, yeah, we can. How formal do you want me to get with that? Because I can announce the scholarship winners here, or I can just tell you what they're up to at the farmers market. What would you?
Both. Tell us
Both.
both. Yes.
All right. All right. So we had two. So the foundation selected two scholarship winners for the Perseverance Award. One was Emerson Ramey. Is it Ramey? Ramey of South Lyon High School. And the other was Morgan Campbell of South Lyon East. They had wonderful stories, according to the committee, certainly well deserving, both of them. So that's all good stuff. And then the foundation partnered with the Salem South Lyon and the Lyon Township Libraries to hand out some free books for summer reading for students at the farmers market. I'd hoped to make it to that. I didn't get to, but I believe some folks got to meet Mr. Archibald for the first time there, which looked like a successful day from the pictures. Mr. Archibald, that go okay for you guys?
You're muted.
It was a wonderful morning, and I appreciate everyone that came out and appreciate the invitation from the libraries and the foundation, and enjoyed the opportunity to meet some folks and look forward to meeting many more.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the gist for the moment.
All right. Perfect. It's now item number 21, public comment, if I'm correct. Yes. Okay. We do not have any additional public comments. So we'll move on to item 22, which is correspondence. We have one resignation. Item 23 are meeting dates for July and August and September. Item number 24 is board comments. Mr. Kennedy, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks to our retirees. I've worked with a few of them. Their dedication goes unprecedented. Thank them very much. Welcome, Mr. Archibald. And thanks to George for doing what he did for us for a short time. I have no other words. Oh, and thanks to Plant Moran for those accounting textbooks. Once again, we appreciate that. Thanks to all of the difficult work and decisions that go into making those decisions that we've done in the past couple of months, especially the past couple of weeks. That's all I have. Enjoy.
Thank you. Mr. Abate?
Thank you. So thank you to again, our finance folks. Put some really hard work in there to make some tough decisions, and we'll see if anything improves going forward. So as Mr. Dashner pointed out, perhaps there'll be some opportunities to alleviate some of those potential cuts. We don't know. And on that note, I would urge the entire community, as we've said, to reach out to legislators, the local and certainly federal, as we know the federal government has. Well, I'm sorry, am I echoing? Am I good? Okay. We know our federal government has vast ability to stimulate the economy, and we've seen that with payroll protection and so forth, and that was all certainly warranted and appreciated. But our schools are in need, dire need. And there are districts who are taking pretty significant hits, ours included. There are others that are even worse, and they are in need of additional support, so we don't have to continue to make the cuts that we're looking at or worse. So reach out, do that. We appreciate it. Welcome to Mr. Archibald. It's nice to see you sort of in person there on video. Dr. Heitch, it's been a pleasure. This is it for us, right? This is our last.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been just great to get to know you, even though most of it was online after a while. Thanks so much for leading us a really difficult time. It's all sorts of things that you didn't expect to happen. We were very, very fortunate that you were available to come and help us get through that time. And I just want to thank you so much. And yeah, and that's all that I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dashner.
Probably going to echo a lot of what others said, but I do want to say congrats to all the retirees we honored earlier tonight. It was very clear that it wasn't just staff members that was retiring, that it was friends that were retiring. You could just see the emotion in the people talking about them, and plus the people that were leaving. Pretty cool that's the one time I don't mind seeing people cry at one of our meetings. George, I want to say thank you for your time with us. Your calm leadership was definitely appreciated in the crazy times we've just gone through. And then welcome to Steve. I think you get to enjoy some of the craziness as we get towards fall when we try to figure out what's going to happen with the funding. But it was good seeing you at the farmers market on Saturday, and it was a good day for that. Lastly, I wanted to say thank you to the community for being involved in the budget. Everyone that looked at it and reached out to us with their thoughts and opinions on things, and even the ideas that they presented for different ways to accomplish cuts. You might not see us do all of it, but we do look at it. We do consider all of it. And like I said earlier, we do our best, and stick with us. We'll get through this somehow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schwegler?
Yeah, I'm going to start off right where Craig started off, and that's the retirees. I too started in this industry a long time ago, and I was done after 4 years. So I think it says a lot about somebody who has that kind of passion to work with some of the frustrations that education can bring. There's a lot of great moments. There's a lot of frustration, and kudos to them for making a great career out of it. And best of luck as they go off into retirement. George, I had half a thought about delaying this budget vote to give you one more meeting at the end of the year. But it's probably smart we did it now. But you are, I think, maybe the perfect person to kind of bridge that gap. Especially one of the things I just want to say I appreciate the most is that you let some of the assistant superintendents really kind of take hold of some of those issues to let them gain that experience. And I thought between that decision and as Craig mentioned, your calm demeanor, it was really you were a great fit. So I appreciate everything you did. Steve, welcome. This is going to be great. I look forward to working with you, and I'm excited to see what you can bring to the district. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Hertel?
Well, I'm probably going to repeat a whole lot of everything that everybody just said. I do have one new thing that I will mention at the end. Congratulations to all the retirees. You're going to enjoy your time. It'll probably start off being a little bit weird and difficult, but then you're going to get into the groove of just doing whatever you want and doing your favorite hobby as a full-time passion. So enjoy your time. We did actually have the last day of school on Friday. Whatever school may have looked like for anybody was different, weird, so much so that I forgot to take a last day of school picture on Friday because it didn't feel like a last day of school. So we took it on Sunday, much to my kids' all moms, do we really have to moments, but we got it. Dr. Heitch, you have been fantastic through all of this. Now you can say you've experienced everything as an educator. You had to come out of retirement to do it. And then to Steve, welcome. Look forward to moving forward and navigating this odd path that we'll be going on. One thing that I will add is the new item. Please vote in August for our bond. One thing that will definitely help the general fund is if the bond passes, which is a no tax increase bond, then it will pull items out of general fund and put more money back into the classroom and directly into the people. By pulling things out like maintenance, capital improvements, et cetera, that will definitely help the general fund. So please vote for the bond, and happy last day of school and summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will echo a lot of what was said as well. Congratulations to the retirees. Thank you for the years and years of service that you have given to our district and our community and our students. Welcome, Mr. Archibald. Thank you also for going to the farmers market and offering to meet and greet with folks. It was good to see you there. Thank you to the Southline Educational Foundation for supporting our schools in general, but offering an opportunity for people to meet Mr. Archibald, and also for the 2 scholarships to our seniors. To Miss Glenn, who sent the letter regarding possible curriculum changes, thank you for your interest, and thank you for contacting us. It is definitely something that we should look into, and we will. I do know that all of our textbooks are approved through the Curriculum and Communications Committees, so the public does have some say in that as well. I know you mentioned that we don't always, but there is an opportunity for the public to see that. And lastly, Dr. Heitch, thank you so much. I know this was not what you were signing up for back in December when you agreed to this, but I agree with everyone. You were the perfect person to kind of walk us through all of this, and it was nice to have someone that we could trust and that we respected, and that if anyone knew how to handle it, you were the one to do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your retirement again for the second time.
Thank you.
All right.
Ms. Sancho?
Yes, Mr. Latte.
I'm sorry, can I break protocol for just one quick second? Because
Absolutely.
I had my head lost in the budget and finance and all that stuff, and I didn't acknowledge the retirees, and that isn't right. And I will kick myself around so hard if I don't say something. And whenever I see a huge list of retirees like that, it's distinguished list, I think about just the collective experience and knowledge that exits with that group of people. And it's impossible not to be missed. It's impossible not to miss those people. You put in a wonderful career for us. We appreciate it. Enjoy your retirement. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. Hanshaw, for letting me sneak that in. I wouldn't have felt if I didn't.
No problem. All right. With that final thought, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Abate, supported by Ms. Ertel. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, I vote yes. Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Schwegler,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Tell,
Yes.
and Ms. Hanshaw.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good evening.